All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to watch my bookroom orientation video. A few things have changed. I've moved around and organized some things, and so I wanted to give you all an idea of where everything was at, especially if you are a new teacher, so that you can feel confident going into the bookroom and getting what you need for your students. So the first thing that you'll notice when you walk into the book room is on the right side, you'll see some bins and boxes with letters on the outside. These represent reading levels. In the past, we have used letter levels, and so a lot of our books still have these letter levels on them. When you take the iReady assessment this week, your students will also get a Lexile level range, and that will kind of help you determine a little bit what letter level they may need to be reading in. We'll talk more about this later, but just so you all know, the Lexile level band range can span more than one letter level. So you may give your students a couple of different books within that range and then start to decide, what particular letter level book is not too easy, but not too hard, and gives your students good opportunities to read independently and practice those skills. And I'll be giving you all a conversion chart to help with some of that work as well. But just know that these books on the right side are single books for your students' individual book boxes. And so you may have students in your class that are on all different levels. And so you'll be able to come to this section of the book room and pull a few books for each student to put in their individual book box, so that they will have access to books when they are reading independently and when they are practicing the skill that you have taught in your mini lesson. So when you're thinking about these books, try to pull some books that align with what you've been teaching. If we're in the fiction unit right now, think about pulling some books that have good characters, that maybe have a lesson or a theme, or just books that you think your students might be interested in reading. These books do not have to be checked out, but as you're sort of giving your students a couple of weeks to read them and switching them out with new books, make sure that you're returning them so other teachers can have books for their students. The biggest thing is making sure that we're putting the books back in the correct bin or box so that they stay with their correct level. The next area of the book room will be all of the metal shelves. And you'll notice on the first shelf on the left, it starts with A and it goes all the way through Z. For my kindergarten teachers, there are also a few sets of beginning steps. These are for your students that are learning letters and still some very emergent basic skills. At the top of these shelves, you'll see that they're labeled either fiction or nonfiction based on their level. And so when you're looking for certain books, depending on what unit we're in, you will look in those particular sections. All of these books are in bags. So when you take these books, you're going to take the whole entire bag. You're not going to go in and just pull out a couple of books based on the students that need them. Even if you have 4 students that need that book or that you're using for your small group, go ahead and take the whole bag, even if it has 6 to 8 in it, so that these books stay together. These are sets and they need to live inside their bag and stay shelved that way. I spent a lot of time this summer sort of re-putting all the sets together and getting them back organized. So if you guys could help me to keep these books in those sets, that would really help everyone to have access to these books for their lessons. So we'll be getting more into small groups in the coming weeks, but these are the books that you will pull to use at your small group table as you're teaching your students a strategy or as you are increasing their level of decoding and reading. Okay. So as you can see, underneath, my plan is to put the Lexile level band underneath the letter. And so as you're getting those scores from iReady and you're figuring out what band or level your student reads most instructionally, you'll be able to use this Lexile band to sort of guide your choices when you're choosing books for your groups. All right, we talked a little bit about keeping the sets together, but this is kind of what they would look like. Some sets have lessons already in there for you. So for my new teachers, these will be great sets of books as you get into your small groups to choose books that have the lesson plans there and that are written out. And we are going to go into great detail about what these lessons mean and how those lessons look. But just so you all know, some will have a lesson plan with them, and then some sets that I put together will have multiple copies of the same book, but may not have an actual lesson plan. So again, whether they have a lesson plan or whether it's just the set of books itself, please, please, please keep all of the same books together. Even if you read the book with your students and it goes into their book box afterwards, make sure that you put all those books back in that bag before you return them to the book room so that the next teacher can have enough books to use for their set. And for my teachers that have been here a while that are comfortable in creating their own reading plans, you might want to use more of these types of books and leave our sets with the lesson plans written for some of our new teachers. All right. For my older grade students, you do have some single book sets in those boxes for their individual book boxes, but a lot of your students are reading chapter books, and so that took up a lot of space. So what I did was there are still a lot of chapter books that would be good for their individual book boxes, but they may live over by the sets. And so I'd ask you to still kind of keep those sets together, but if you want to take, let's say, for example, this set of 4 books, you may not be using that for a small group reading, but you may take those books out and put them into 4 students' book boxes that read at that level. Just make sure we're kind of still keeping those sets together and returning them either in their bag or with their rubber band that way. But you guys have access to a lot of other chapter books in those shelves on the left side. When you choose books for your students, not the individual books, but the sets of books that are either rubber banded or in a bag, before you leave the book room, we are going to start a new sign out procedure. This sort of helps us keep track of different books if we're looking for a particular set, or just in general, who's checking out books and kind of keeping an account for the books that we have in there. And so you'll see in this folder, it's on a desk right before you leave out of the book room. There are tabs for each particular grade level. So what you'll do is you'll just turn to your tab for your grade, and then on the first empty line, you're going to write your name, the book title, the number of books that are in that set, and then the date that you checked them out. And so if you check out multiple sets at a time, you can kind of put your name here with like a little arrow, and then just list all of the different titles you're checking out, and fill out these boxes here. And then when you bring them back and check them in, all you'll have to do is just put the date. We will have a computer checkout system in the back corner as well if that particular set of books has a barcode, but many of them don't. And the computers doesn't always work, or it may take more time to sign in. So this might be an easier format for you guys to check out the books as you take them from the book room. Okay. I also have organized, with the help of my other coaches as well, a lot of our writing paper. So as we're getting into our writing units and the students are doing writing and you are modeling writing for them, just know that there are lots and lots of different types of paper on the back kind of left wall of the book room. If you notice that any particular type of paper is running low, just let me know and I can make copies for you and your grade level as needed. All right, so coming soon to your classroom, all of you will be receiving a set of trays and magnet letters as you're doing some small groups for phonics. As we move later into some reading small groups, just know that these are coming for you. And then coming soon to the book room, we have ordered some phonics storybooks that really allow students to practice particular phonics skills that you're doing in your phonics block. So, a couple of closing remarks just as you think about the book room and just in my work, kind of getting it organized and ready for you guys, is just remembering that a place for everything and everything in its place. So, every book that's part of a set will stay in its bag, will stay rubber banded. Please don't bring back just single books that belong in a set. It takes a lot of time to have to find that bag or to reshelve it in that way. So when you check out those sets of books that are on the different rows, make sure that before you bring it back to the book room, you've accounted for all of those books in that set that you signed out. And then when you're signing it back in, you have the same number of books that you left with. And just do me a favor to really pay attention to, if it's a fiction book, please put it back in the fiction section. Same with nonfiction. Make sure you're putting it back with the correct level so that other teachers can find them easily and have access. Okay. Um, Also, just signing out those books and return them when they're no longer needed. So we don't want to get in the habit of hoarding books and having all of these great books in our classroom, because we have many students, even in the upper grades, that may need access to some of the lower grade texts. And we may have lower grade students that need access to higher level text. And so we want to make sure we're using them, and we're definitely allowing our students to read them and have them in their book box. But when we get to a point that we're switching books out and we're shopping from new books, let's just make sure that we're returning those books so that other people have a chance to use them. And finally, just get students reading. I know that we have access to Epic and iReady Reading and Raz Kids, but having books in our students' hands really will allow them to fall in love with reading, to practice those skills, and just have great opportunities to read independently or together. Just so you all know, there are lots of other sets of books that I'm working on barcoding and then putting in bags. And so there will be more books that are coming to the book room as well to kind of beef it up and give us more and more text. So thank you guys so much. Please reach out with any questions that you have. If you guys could do me a favor and snip this link into your browser and fill out a really quick one question sign off, just so that I know that you've watched this video and kind of understand some new things that we're doing, that would be amazing. And I can't wait to see you all in your classrooms reading and just loving books. Thank you guys.